At some point in time, I don't know exactly when, Google's going to become AI mode first. They'll still incorporate the links because they need to make revenue and things like that, but it's going to become much more AI focused even than the AI overviews. It's going to be much more closer to AI mode. Content is all that Google really cares about. They care about content more than anything else. Crappy content, yeah, don't write that. Low quality content, don't write that. Duplicate content, don't write that. You can use AI to write, but you can't only use AI to write, and you need to go through it and need to update it, and then you need to start adding in your experience if you want to rank well. If you just use the pure AI stuff, yeah, good luck on that. It's not going to be what you think it is. And
welcome, and thank you for joining us for another Justia webinar. My name is Nina, and I'll be the moderator for today. Now, to kick things off, I want to go ahead and introduce our speaker for today, Tim Stanley. Tim Stanley is the CEO and founder of Justia, one of the most visited legal portals in the world. Justia's mission is to make law and legal resources free for all. Before founding Justia, Tim founded and was CEO of FindLaw. He is the general counsel on the board of trustees of public.resource.org and was previously on the board of NOLO and American LegalNet. Tim has a bachelor's of science and a master's of science from Stanford University and a JD from the University of Michigan Law School. The webinar presentation that you're about to watch will be approximately 1 hour, and Tim will be taking questions from the audience towards the end of the presentation. You can always submit your questions by clicking the Q&A button in the control panel at the bottom of your screen and sending them in there. Now, without further ado, here is Tim to discuss 2025 AI and SEO highlights, 2026 forecasts, SEO for law firm websites.
all right. So basically going to cover two things. I'm going to cover sort of what happened last year in terms of SEO and some predictions, which probably more than the predictions probably become true, like for sure, for 2026 and beyond. So just sort of walk through it and be relatively straightforward. First, before I go to like the overview and a couple other things, because I know most people that will see this video will see it on demand, whether it's on Justia Connect or on YouTube. The biggest thing that overrides any Google algorithm update or anything else is AI. So Google is going all in on AI. They're now getting much more competitive with OpenAI. I mean, they've got great engineers. They know how content works. They really are. I mean, they're really good. They just need to do it. The only thing is, how does that compete with their current business model? So, Google, this is sort of the Google homepage. This is the, if you click on AI mode, this is sort of the default AI mode. At some point in time, I don't know exactly when, Google's going to become AI mode first. They'll still incorporate the links because they need to make revenue and things like that, but it's going to become much more AI focused even than the AI overviews. It's going to be much more closer to AI mode. So I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but one day you're going to come to Google and it's going to be 2 lines of text. So you can type more stuff in. You start discussing things. They just have to figure out how to make the revenue on it. The other part is in terms of actionable items of what to do. I did a 2-hour webinar on, getting leads from AI that you should go watch that. I go into much more detail than I am today. So if you want to know what to do as a law firm, go watch that webinar. It's on Justia Connect. You go to j.st AI123, or you can watch on YouTube. And the other one that you should watch is one that I did with Conrad Sam of Mockingbird Marketing up in Seattle. Used to be the head of Avos marketing, on profiles. That's the other one you should watch. So if you want to have actionable items of what you need to do, those are the ones to watch where I go into much more detail, and Conrad also goes into much more detail as what you need to do. So those are the key items. If you want a quick list of what you need to do, just at least for, showing up well in AI for particular services searches, here's the list. I'm going to run through this later, but if you're somehow going through it, you just want to pause the video because you're only going to watch the first 2 minutes of it. Well, there you go. There's the list. All right. Just wanted to get that part out. I'd go watch these 2 videos. I do everything that's on this list. All right. This is like the 3rd time I brought up this list to folks. So we'll go through it one more time later. All right. First, an overview of different items. If you go through and you look at statistics, like as usage statistics, you will see that as far as, search engines go, and this is United States data, Google's easily the leader, right? This one says 84.5%. I've seen as high as 90%, sometimes a little bit lower, but it's really a one-player game right now. Bing, Yahoo, maybe DuckDuckGo, I don't know. They're the ones sort of leading it. And, makes sense. Nice, clean. It's Google. Everybody knows Google. If you go to chatbots right now, it is ChatGPT that's leading it. Even though this core technology came out of Google, or a lot of it, I mean, obviously it came before Google even, but a lot of the way it's used for LLMs was, by way of Google. And, but OpenAI is run with it, and Google sort of let them run with it, which, I think they're now starting to fight back aggressively. But they're, ChatGPT right now, it's, sometimes 75%. That probably includes some Copilot stuff as well. There's a little bit of a mix back in there. Copilot right now is second. Perplexity. You see Google Gemini a little bit back, a little bit back there. And a lot of people use ChatGPT. It's pretty good for that stuff. The thing though is, even though ChatGPT is first right here, Google's first for search, and Google is integrated into search Gemini AI. So while Gemini, might look like, if I go here, Gemini looks like it's pretty low, around 6%. Gemini is also getting the stuff that's coming through Google search. And Google search relative to, Google search usage relative to ChatGPT usage is orders of magnitude higher. So Gemini is really being used by a lot more people than just a pure Gemini chatbot that you see, because Gemini is, in fact, your AI overview in AI mode in Google search. So, you have Google, you see the AI mode right there. If I just click on it without clicking anything, it would take me to this page right here. And of course, there's Gemini itself. So right now on the AI world, for using it for discovering things and doing searches, it's really a two-player game right now. I'm not saying, Anthropic's Claude, there's Perplexity, there's other folks, Bing's Copilot version of GPT. There's other stuff out there, but it's really these two players. So I just think of Google with, Google search, which in the AI mode of search, Gemini, and ChatGPT. And those are the ones right now that you should really be focused on. So if I was to say, which one should I be, well, I like to focus on all of them, sure. But if I really had to focus on some particular ones, those are the two that I would be all in on. Most of the other people, if you do well with these two, you do well with them as well. All right. So I just wanted to get that part out because realistically, search is going to become AI first. I mean, that's just sort of the AI chat first. That's just, it's a timing issue right now. Let's go through a little bit of the Google algorithm changes of 2025. So there were 4 sort of larger updates that Google had, or at least announced updates. They had 3 core updates and 1 spam update. And if you compare that to the past, that's a lot less. I mean, a lot fewer updates than they had like in 2024, 2023. They had more. Here's 2022, 2021. I mean, a lot fewer updates in 2025. Part of that is because the bigger thing with the update with Google is moving to AI, right? Bringing the AI overviews, the AI mode, working all that stuff through. That's what they're focused on right now. And to a certain extent, it seems at times that they sort of let search fall back a bit while they just put some of their main resources on AI and sort of test out their AI within Google search, because they're still trying to figure that out in a way that allows them to make the Google revenue. So many fewer updates in 2025. But here are the 4 updates, and we're just going to run through them. And I'm going to point out what the big items were for each of these and sort of what that means for law firms in terms of writing content. So nothing super tricky here. We'll just sort of walk through it. All right. The first update came in March. That was a core update. This is sort of a nuclear core, but you can think of it as the main part of the Google search engine. And before I do it, let me just say one thing here. When you're thinking about core updates versus spam updates, the way to think of core updates is they're trying to figure out how sites rank relative to each other, and they will go after some spam and push that down, but they're also looking at things that sort of lift folks up. When you see a spam update, that's mainly looking at people that need to be punished in some way, sort of demoted, right? That's sort of a one-way look at it. while core is doing both. They want to demote some people, also raise some people. So when you're just thinking about this a little bit, I mean, obviously if you raise people, you have to demote other people. But when you think about this, the focus on core is the overall sort of rankings within Google, not just, how can we get people that are trying to cheat us? All right. Or cheat the user on that part. All right. So we have the core update. So the core update first was focused on EAT, which every update is focused on EAT. There's nothing fancy about that. So expertise, experience, the authoritativeness and trustworthiness. The big one here right now, that's sort of the new part, is the experience, and having you all tie your experience into your content. Don't forget about that. They're really, I'll sort of explain this in terms of sort of separating content written by humans versus content written by AI. But you need to work your experience in there, and you need to work in words like I and we and different terms like that, so it indicates it's you who did certain things, not just, this is how you do in a car accident type stuff. This is what we would do in a car accident, right? Different things like that. Focus on higher quality original content pages. Nothing new there, right? That's every update, right? Or at least any update that involves the core, organic search. Content for people first that's helpful and readable, right? That wasn't always the case. A lot of times it was just original content. The helpfulness wasn't quite there. But this is sort of an overall focus with Google, just trying to make the content that it's presenting to folks content that people like, not stuff that's so dense and so hard to follow that's not really readable or usable. Part of that is how fast your site loads. Part of that is how you lay out your pages. Do you have headers? Is it easy to follow? The little things like that, subheadings. You need to do something to make it useful to people, right? So that's sort of a key element there. If you're writing it just for SEO, like, people write, locality pages and they're all the same. It's like a Mad Libs. They're not going to like that. That's not going to be helpful. I do see a lot of folks out there, by the way, that keep saying that content doesn't matter. It's links or it's this or that. Content is all that Google really cares about. They care about content more than anything else. Crappy content, yeah, don't write that. Low quality content, don't write that. Duplicate content, don't write that. But if you could write original content, especially original content that brings in your experience in, that's the goal that Google wants. All right. So we'll sort of keep running through this part, but all those folks that say content, we remove content, they start ranking better. Yeah, they remove crappy content on a website. Sure. The crappy content took the site down, right? Good content is good content, and that it always lifts you up. And that is the only thing right now in terms of your long-term sort of presence and rankings in Google that you should be focused on. That's what drives it, is the quality content. So we'll talk more about that because it's going to come up over and over again. All right. For this algorithm in March, the big item here was the focus on smaller websites and individual creators. All right, I'll explain what that means in just a second. But it was really something that really wanted to lift up smaller websites and individuals outside of some of the larger websites, right? Like Justia or other folks, they have lots of stuff. They're really trying to figure out how to get these other individuals ranking higher in smaller law firms and things like that. The key for this overall, beyond just having higher quality content and everything, the key for this to lawyers was tying in their personal experience into their content. And this was the main key, was really the lifting up of the smaller law firms and individual creators of content. And so the main thing here is that Google really wants people writing content. Now, part of it is so they can use it for their AI, right? So you write the content, you do all the original work, they will aggregate and give an AI result using your content, which might seem slightly hypocritical. We'll see more hypocritical as we go through this discussion. But that's what they want. They want real content by real people, and they need to give incentives for real people to write content. And at the end of the day, large companies, not us, but other companies tend to do just lots of, they might write 2 trillion pages using AI, just rewriting Wikipedia or something like that. They can go really quick, but it's just a rewrite of something. If you go to individuals, they tend to bring more personal experience, more insight to how they would approach things. It's the same reason why you see Reddit sort of showing up higher in Google, right? Because it tends to be real people participating on it. There's certainly some bots on Reddit, but not as much as like on X. So it's something where Google really wanted individuals to participate, and this was their way to do it. Another way to think of this is that they valued backlinks less. All right. They focus more on the content. So the one way you could get smaller sites and individual creators ranking higher is not to look at the backlinks as much and really focus in on the quality of the content. So that would be sort of how I would look at it in terms as you saw this shift where you really saw a lot more individual law firms ranking higher. And it was something that sort of was focused on the smaller law firms that had written great content, right? The Ron Millers of the world, folks like that, in Maryland. Versus, if you wrote crappy content, you still wasn't going to help you. So that was the big thing in March, though. It was a big, and it was a real change, looking out towards individual creators, which really helped a lot of smaller law firms. So the solos, 5, 10 people, they did well. Larger law firms with 2,000 lawyers, they were probably fine for most of the stuff they wrote, but it sort of continued. But the smaller law firms certainly got a bump from that if they had good content on their site. Telling personal experience, that's going to be everything. This could be, when I come back to this AI part, I'm going to bring this up many, many more times, as I did in the previous webinars I've done, right? So you can watch that and you want me to say it slower so you can sort of see it. All right. We then had another core update. There's a core, all right, in June. So a few months later. This one, same thing, all right? High quality original content. Show your experience, that second E that's there. Helpful for people, readable, right? The basic, nothing new here. This shows up every time in every update. Always true. The big thing that happened in June is they started really using more content for AI updates. So AI updates, for the AI summaries up at the top of the Google search results. So the AI overview stuff started pulling in stuff from the web. And because of that, they wanted better, higher quality content, especially for the stuff they were going to bring this stuff into. Initially, it was really focused on your money or your life types of content. Health, finance, law, right? Legal stuff. So for lawyers, this was a big change. So it was really important that your content was correct on the law. You didn't want to have incorrect information. And it was really sort of helpful and useful to people. So that was actually a pretty big item here for law firms. Not so much for guitar practice and things like that, but for law, it was definitely big. They also started demoting content that was just trying to generate by AI, or even done without AI on a massive scale where nobody was really paying attention, some sort of Mad Libs type of thing. Reminds me like the old demand media days when they just created, sort of their how-to websites, and it was like these short paragraphs just ranking Google, and then Google said, this low quality stuff that you're putting together, just putting keywords up. Well, with AI, it's actually, the content can be pretty good, but there's virtually no effort going in. You could just, you could write Wikipedia in like a few hours if you just download it and ran AI across it and had enough instances of APIs going. And the real issue here is a lot of people were creating these huge sites with AI and not even looking at the content. In AI, well, pretty good. It's not great, right? Especially for things like law. And I've showed examples in the past where AI was getting the law wrong because it was looking at old information, right? It was the same-sex marriage case was the one I showed, where it was saying same-sex marriage is illegal based in Mississippi, based on the Mississippi Code, because it wasn't able to put everything together. So AI makes mistakes, and certainly someone with expertise in the area would not make the same mistakes AI would make if they, in fact, researched it and went through it. So Google started demoting and pushing down AI. So really, we can say it's AI, non-AI, but really these large AI websites that were popping up with lots of content. Now, I will say the folks that did it, because the effort was so low, they still got traffic. It's not like it's not like the little effort led to nothing, but Google didn't want to be ranking that high. Also, there's a separate issue Google has as they move more towards AI. Do you really want to be training your AI summaries off other stuff written by AI? It gets worse and worse as it goes a little bit. There will be slippage every time. And they really want to get their summaries based on information, especially in areas like law, that was produced by experts, or at a minimum, editorially gone through by experts. Even if parts were written by AI, it's really been checked by a lawyer or an attorney, and they've added some of their own substance in it, and they've fixed it up. It's really, I'm not saying don't use AI, but if you can't only use AI, right? You got to at least go through it, and you should fix it up. I'll keep going. I'll come back to this a little bit. And they push down outdated content. Again, outdated content for law, the law might have changed. Makes sense, right? So if you have old blog posts on old tax laws and different things like that, those blog posts start ranking lower, even if the post was great, because the tax law had changed. They didn't want to be sort of featuring older stuff as much when it came to these your money or your life type things like law or medicine or finance. Things sort of change. And the key to law firms, of course, is high quality original content and really to get your experience in there. So it's one of the ways that you can really distinguish your website content from AI generated content is to work in your experience into your content. So if you're a criminal lawyer and you've done, larceny cases, explain how you approach larceny cases, explain what you've seen when working through it. What are the sort of the settlement negotiations? How do DAs look at when you're negotiating with them? What are the different issues involved? Or same things with DUI and breathalyzers. Say, we've done this in the past. If you haven't done that type of case, say, well, this is how we would do it, our firm, right? But the main thing here, just from a pure writing standpoint, is you need to go through and add either how you've done in the past or how you would do it, and add a lot of I's and we's into it. That's distinguished between AI. When AI is rewriting stuff, it tends to be, the definition of larceny is dun, 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 dun. The offenses are, the related crimes are, the expected penalties are. If you need a larceny defense lawyer, call, Jones and Jones or whatever. I mean, it's very generic, right? Or here are the top 10 things you do in a car accident. First, pull over, make sure you're safe and get medical help, then get insurance, the same stuff, take pictures. That page has been written 20, 30,000 times on the web, right? Blog posts, web pages, everything. It's very generic. But you need to explain sort of how you would approach it differently. You take the photos, you can immediately send them to us right here at this, something that makes it more personal on it. So that's really key, because one, it separates you from AI, but the second thing, it also ties into the experience part that Google's looking for to rank content. So if you, just by adding your experience in, you will rank higher. All right. Let me put it that way. That's what you guys care about, ranking. You want to rank higher? Work in your experience. If you think you're going to sign up with one of these services that's going to say, oh, we know everything about AI, we're going to download everything, we know this, this, and this, we're going to tell you what motorcycle gets in crash, what the hell, and you're just going to use AI by itself, good luck, right? Some of those sites have authors labeled as AI authors, which they should probably fix. Not going to call them out, but man, they charge a lot of money a month. I'll just leave it there. Anyway, so you guys use AI. You can use AI. That's fine. But make sure you do it where you go back, you re-edit it, and you add in your experience. Right. All right. Let me keep going here. So the big thing here was the content being used for Google AI overviews, and that AI content was being demoted. All right. Those were the big things. All right. AI, again, June, it was the AI overview stuff that was taking place, and the AI content getting pushed down, mainly because they didn't want AI content impacting their AI overviews, which was also was basically doing exactly what they said other people shouldn't do. But it's Google. What are you going to do? All right, spam update. So we had a spam update in August. This is mainly looking at different ways people were sort of trying to cheat Google in some way, right? Something bad on that part. And spam comes in lots of flavors, right? A lot of flavors of spam. There are a lot of flavors of spamming Google. So lots of stuff that can happen there. This is my favorite flavor of spam. All right, let's go through it. First thing they did with the spam update is they were detecting scaled content abuse. And you could say, that was AI generated content or people generated content. But let me tell you, that was AI generated content they're going after. They had these folks, they were just producing, millions and millions of pages of content, trying to get indexed by Google, try to get some random traffic coming in. And Google, they didn't want that content because that content, not the search results, first, it takes away from people actually writing the content. But the second thing, who they copied and rewrote, the other part, though, that happens is that you start getting this AI giving results based on AI, and it's a slippery slope. They really, really want content that was produced by experts, or at a minimum, edited and updated by experts. So it's showing the current state of what things are, right? Personal experience. So that was the big one. It was mainly AI. And again, you see a repetitive pattern here, especially as they start doing their own AI, where they basically do this, but they aren't producing it to retrain their AI. They're not using their AI to retrain their AI, their results. They want the expert stuff for the core training. So there's a little bit different. Then they were just doing the normal detecting content to manipulate rankings rather than help users. That's normal. That happens every time. That's every spam update. They did they claim that, and I guess they've done some of it because I've heard that for some people it's true. They did some keyword spam checks or demotions in the Google business profiles or the Google Maps names. Again, if you're going to use keywords in your name, make sure that's what it looks like on your website. Make sure that's what it looks like in your stationery. Either register that as your name or at least do a DBA. But even DBAs sometimes are suspect. But whatever name you use, it better have those those terms everywhere, right? That shit needs to be the core term. That said, I think I saw like DUI attorney Los Angeles was ranking out on the top of the first page for like Los Angeles DUI lawyer. So they might have gone after this, but maybe the loopholes of that's actually your name or something are still there. What Google should do, which they haven't done, is they should just do this. So it's not hard. Let people name their firms whatever they want. But if it's a service that someone is searching for, like a DUI lawyer or a criminal lawyer or a personal injury lawyer, don't give any credit to the words in the names. Just go, this is a service search. We're just going to go look and rank these things based on whatever it is we rank them on. Their Google business profile completeness, maybe their reviews a bit, maybe their organic, that's where it's the website organic that ties into their Google business profile. But that would solve a lot of what they do. They just have to be willing to say, you know what, we're not going to keep trying to do this combination name and service ranking where we're bringing some name searches and some service ones. Just if it's a service search, just make a service. And that would solve a lot of what they have right now. But they haven't done that. And that's, that would solve a lot of this. And they would also solve a lot of the spamming, because I don't think a lot of people want to spam their names up, but they do. But anyways, they went after it back in August. And all right, I still see it everywhere. So in fact, I see it more than not. So at least for smaller firms in criminal, personal injury, divorce, family, stuff like that. And then the normal link schemes, there was the stuff where people were selling their subdomains, in terms of like Forbes, I think got caught up in that. They were selling a subdomain for rankings, that type of stuff, the normal SEO abuses on things like that. That's the normal items. Again, for law firms, the main thing is, put your personal experience into your content. That's the easiest way to make sure your content looks unique and makes it less AI-like, right? If you look at it that way, if you just, a lot of folks have got mail libs pages even before AI, but man, it looks like it was written by AI because it's just standard template stuff and it's not that great. But really try to work your personal experience, and that helps you with spam as well. It'll help you with everything with content right now with Google. The big one here was detecting the scaled content abuse, the AI content, and the keyword spam in the Google business profiles. Those were the big two. Again, the first one, I know many instances where they've demoted sites or they removed sites from their rankings. And the keyword spam in Google business, I'm sure that they knocked out some, but man, I just see a lot of that. I'll just leave it there. All right. 2 core updates. You can see we're sort of going. We're moving into AI. We're going after this pure AI stuff a bit. That really seems to be the focus. We're using AI. We don't want AI content in our AI. right? That's at basic level. If we're not going to have AI content in AI, one way to make sure that content doesn't show up as much is we don't rank it in Google, so people don't have the incentive to keep creating AI content. And it's pretty simple. All right, another core update. All right, there's another core. Right. Nuclear power is coming back, so I think that'll be something we'll see more of in the future. All right, core update. You know what's going to be. You know, we get expertise, experience, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, the EAT that we always get. Higher quality original content pages, content for people first, helpful and readable, right? Every core update, every single one that this statement comes out. This is basically what it means. Write high quality original legal content that's helpful to people, all right? And work your experience into that content. That's basic. That's like, that should be SEO 101. And that is the most important thing. More important than links or anything else is that. All right. The big thing happened here, they were starting to use much more content for Google AI overviews, and it really moved beyond just the your money or your life topics. For law firms, you already had this, right? You already were dealing with this. You had to have good content because your money or your life stuff, because and have stuff up to date and correct. Back when they started using your stuff in June, but now they're using it for all types of stuff, and it became a bigger, sort of more focused thing for all types of searches on Google. So this is a relatively big change. Didn't impact law quite as much. A lot more focus on detecting AI content. That did impact some law sites that were using pure AI. And they were looking at the mass-produced ones, again, without editorial. This is just like the spam update. I mean, they're just trying to knock these down. It's pretty simple. Same key, all right? I'm not going to pretend there's a different key here. Listen, one thing here, work your experience into your content. All right, there. If you want one thing you need to do, you have your content pages, go back through them, start editing them, and start adding in how you would do things or how you did things in the past. Mention some cases you've done. You can hold back the names, but give some examples that you participate in and start working the words, I and we do this. This is how we look at it. There. That's the key to helping you with rank with Google and their way they're looking at content right now, especially when Google right now is facing all these huge AI farms and all these like new website experts that know how to use AI to figure out everything that happens, and they can snipe these long tail terms with AI, and they'll just write you a blog post, right? You can use AI to write, but you can't only use AI to write, and you need to go through it and need to update it. And then you need to start adding in your experience if you want to rank well. If you just use the pure AI stuff, good luck on that. It's not going to be what you think it is, and it's a lot of money to do that. It's AI should lower costs, not increase costs in certain ways. But anyways, regardless of that, that was the big stuff. More stuff here. Boom, boom, boom. AI. Right in the core updates are AI. All right, the one other thing, this is beyond obvious, but since they published this in Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land, I'll put it up here. Hey, they do little core updates throughout the year. I think that's always been true. I don't know what's new about it, but I guess they explicitly confirmed. I'm pretty sure that's been true for the last decade plus. But anyway, I'm exactly know it's been true. But anyways, regardless of that, it's fine. It's official. So there are other updates happening, but they're smaller ones. They might impact certain industries. They might impact, certain countries, certain languages. Little things are going on. And they're always trying to improve it. They're always making updates to Google and testing different things out. But they are making different sort of core updates in the main thing that are accepted into their beyond just test. All right. That happens, not just the major ones. The major ones are bigger though. And probably that's more of a, updating your code and pushing it out everywhere. All right. Those are the algorithm changes. Only 4. Everything is basically this. Google wants original content written by experts to show that, mention how you would do things, put your expertise into the content, and don't use AI just to write your content. Use AI to draft things and get ideas. Don't use it just to write it, right? For example, we have an AI writer on our website. We give you a draft. You need to go through and update it and fix it. We do not turn that into a web page right away without you guys having to go through it and download the Word document, updating it. And part of that is just to force people to try to do stuff. Now, if they don't, they don't. And of course, they could use OpenAI or ChatGPT or Gemini anyways to write their own stuff if they want to. But you really need to step back and not just automatically put up AI content. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you want to rank, if you don't care, that's a separate issue. Normally, most lawyers want their websites to be good and rank, and they also want to be truthful. You also don't want to put up stuff that's wrong and, start having a bar committee look at what you're doing, right? It's a separate issue. You're kind of responsible for it. All right. Bigger than the algorithm changes were some of the UI changes. Well, I'd say bigger, but most of it's just because they're bringing AI into it. So we've already kind of discussed that, but we'll go through some more. All right. Here's Google. All right. Here's a Google page here. This is best men's down coats for Michigan weather, because I'm going to Michigan. So let's just take a look at this for a second. So this is a Google search result page for this. Got a bunch of ads. I got some sponsored stuff. Here's my AI overview. I had videos. I got some discussion forums. There's Reddit coming down here. That's I'm extending out my AI overview here. I'll just move this a little bit quicker. There's my discussion stuff with Reddit, Facebook, and Quora. Sometimes you see Justia or Avo, right, when you're doing legal stuff. What people are saying, these ones tend to be some news articles. I think there's New York Times, Wirecutter. I think it's in there. More products. Hey, look, there's a sale after Christmas. And more sponsored results. And here's the organic stuff. Starting with Reddit, it's actually the first organic result. I mean, that's a lot of stuff before you get to the organic. You think it's like this on desktop. You should see it on a phone. You don't know where to start and stop. It's just a lot of stuff here. And I'm going to come back to this, but no, look how the sponsored results look just like the organic results. They don't look different at all. Remember there were issues with that in the past and they had to back off it? Well, not right now. And you can't hide the sponsored results. I'll tell you right now, nobody ever clicked on that link. Nobody. That's artificial there to make it sound like, we're trying to improve the experience. Really, they're just trying to have ads that look like organic results. And then we have people also asking some more organic stuff and some more products and one more organic, and people also search for and some other questions. This page produces revenue for them, right? This is for Google. This is a great page because they got a lot of ads for the products and for the sponsored stuff that looks like organic, and the organic's so far down. I would be surprised if this is probably one of those 0-click pages outside of the ads. So anyways, there's something that's something to note here. All right. And let me go here. All right, let's do this one. This is law firm website design. This doesn't have all the product stuff, but we do have ads. So we have some ads up here at the top. And you see there's One First Legal, I think we got Nifty and Fine Law. Then you got Paper Street, Peter Boyd out in Florida. Does great work. Clio, they do a lot of blog posts for SEO. There's one on that. There's Justia, Modern Law Firm, Reddit, some other items. Juris Digital. Anyways, you get some of the normal players. And, different things are different. The big thing on all this is the sponsor results versus the organic and how similar they look. That's sort of the biggest item that's going on here. And I'll go to one law firm one in a second. But this is like just pure. This looks like it's all organic, but the ads look exactly the same. And I imagine they get more clicks because of that, which Google's right now sort of making clicks. Google's also allowing people to buy more than one spot on a page, right? They're doing that too. And they no longer, remember the infinite scroll they were doing for a while? They stopped that. So you have to stop every time. So if you have ads at the top or ads at the bottom, there's a stop on each page rather than randomly showing up in your full scroll. So there's a lot of things they've done here to increase clicks. Is that better from user experience? I don't know. I would say that some of them, if they're looking for organic, they're not seeing it. But here these might just be different companies. But maybe you want to know that Paper Street is ranking well for this term because, hey, you want SEO, and they seem to have done a pretty good job for themselves. All right, here's Chicago Criminal Lawyer. Let's look at this one. So here we got the normal, local service ads are up there with photos. The they used to have a higher, they would never allow a photo like this in the past. They were more the pure headshots, but things sort of what they are. And they were more transparent on the local service ads in the past. You'd really have to have the name of the person who was licensed in the state, like you'll see John Morgan's picture in every state, and where it's not licensed, you used to have the person was licensed in the state. You went there, now it's just got a license number. You have to go to the bar to look it up. They used to also tell you the exact city these guys were in. That was a long time ago, but that's not happening anymore. You got that. You have one. Oh, let me stop there. You got one sponsored result, but yeah, there was one thing I did want to show this part right up here. Online appointments open now and top rated. Now this one's a little bit hidden. In fact, I just missed it again, even though I just put this together a little while ago. Those things get clicked on. Those are just filters. Like we have similar filters on Justia, right? We have top rated, different types of services and stuff that they might have, sub services. And that would also depend here, depending on what the search is. They'll have different ones that show up there. The ones they always tend to have, though, are two. One is, are they open right now, which you control to a certain extent by your Google business profile. So you should make sure that's correct. Or if you're saying you're open 24 hours, man, at least have a call center that'll take the phone calls, right? Because those phone calls can get tracked through Google sometimes too. And the second one, is if they're clicking through Google. And the second one is the top rated one. And that's a combination of your Google business profile. And a lot of it's your organic stuff that you put on your, the text and stuff you put on your website, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit in terms of how you can do better in AI will also help you up in organic results like this. The one thing I would know is that people looking for lawyers to hire them, not just looking to check positioning, yeah, they tend to click on the top rated. So that top rated does get clicks for people that are hiring lawyers. That top rated does not get clicked too much for people just doing SEO, see how we're ranking, right? That doesn't get clicked on nearly as much. The online appointments, that is basically that you do virtual appointments. So you should note that in your Google business profile, if you are, and we have it on Justia too. You can say we do stuff on Zoom or Google Meet, right? Or FaceTime or, WebEx, some of the others. So you should note that and have that consistent on the extent you can on different lawyer directory profiles or law firm profiles, and certainly mention on your website. And probably most importantly for Google, mention your Google business profile. But those are the three that are showing up right here. Sometimes it might show up, I do DUI, right? It might show up some different practice areas. And again, you might handle some of that within your Google business profile, or at least have some of those terms organically, within the content of your website. And you could do your own searches and see what shows up for different things. But these two almost always show up. The online appointments shows up a lot. All right. So those six. All right. Let me go back to the ads. Then I showed the one sponsor result. Then can we come down here a little bit quicker? Then we have the maps. We got one sponsored. Then we have the other three. Hey, look, Chicago criminal defense lawyer of Chicago. Remember that keyword thing? They were stopping that spam. Right next to driver defense team. Oh, there we go. There's one. That's normal. Law office of, can't pronounce the last name, but Bahat, maybe. And there's Justia, and then there's a bunch of law firms. There's super lawyers and more law firms. And then people also ask and people also search for. Okay, there's your organic. Organic's still okay on this one, but a lot of times the people just looking for a lawyer, an individual law firm, they might click on the pictures, or they might click on the sponsored ad. If they're looking for directories to compare lawyers, they might go to us or super lawyers, or Avo or Fine Lawyers, some of the other guys that show up periodically, but certainly us and super lawyers probably right now. So anyways, it's something. Big thing here though is that these ads are still showing up a lot. The ads are showing up a lot like the organic. So very hard to tell what the differences are. Although I think for people looking for law firms, if they're just looking for a law firm, a lot of times they just click whatever they see first. If they see something that looks good. From your standpoint on this though, what the point of this page I wanted to show you was start explaining how you're top rated. Get a lawyer review on Justia. So you're top rated on Justia, right? Get your Avo ranking up, right? How do you get your Avo ranking up? Have other lawyers give you recommendations. That's the key to Avo, right? Beyond just filling out the profile. For us, it's having lawyers say good things about you. But just do that part. Get super lawyers if you can, best lawyers. The one that really would drive it, although more for the higher end business folks, would be chambers. So you get chambers, not higher end, but the larger law firm chambers folks. So sort of business to business stuff, legal 500, some of those. And there's a bunch of others, $8 million advocates. There's a bunch of them, but you should try to get awards. All right. And let me go here. All right. But anyways, the main point of all these is that Google will be becoming more like Google, like AI mode. This is just going to happen. And what they want is more stuff where, however it happens, they want stuff where they can still work their ads in, and they need to figure that out. They don't have to have it for everything. Most searches don't have ad revenue, but the ones that do, they need to figure out how they're going to make money off those. Lawyers are one of those things that make them money. They make a lot of money off lawyers, so they need to think that part through. And because otherwise, if the AI starts competing with their clicks, right now, we saw the previous one on the coats that nothing competing with their clicks there. The organics pushed down so far. But again, they like more of this where it's higher up with the products and stuff than this where everything's pushed way down. And this is kind of what AI mode is right now. The ads that I periodically see in AI mode, they're just like display ads. I don't know how they need to either get those targeted better or do something. They don't look good. It's bad. So I'll just leave it there. I know it's the big first inning, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but not great. And here's what it looks like in pure AI mode, where basically I don't have any ads on this page right now, which for comparing codes, I should get something. And, again, AI mode is where things are going to go. This is the biggest thing right now is for AI and search. They're going to combine in. And by the way, ChatGPT, they're mixing in search too. They got their own browser, right? They got Atlas browser. There's other stuff going on there. All right. I'll go through this stuff pretty quickly because we covered a lot of it. And a lot of this stuff's repetitive. So search engines, Google, ChatGPT for chats. But, as I mentioned beforehand, Google has a lot of chat traffic coming in through their search. I also, beyond just, Google, I'm going a little quick here, beyond Google and Google AI mode and Gemini and ChatGPT, I use all the ones, right? So I use Claude and I use Perplexity and I use Copilot and Meta sometimes, Grok, not that much, and Minstrel and DeepSeek. So I use different ones, different reasons for it. Right now, I tend to use Gemini because Gemini has the best data and they tend to give me the best results. The problem with Gemini is if I ever talk about anything controversial, which could be anything from certain health policies of the administration to anything like that, they'll suddenly just stop discussing things with me and give me 10 links. I don't get that with ChatGPT. They always will keep the discussion even if it gets uncomfortable. Google still has an issue sometimes where they just quickly dump you out, give you 10 links, and your next text is a brand new discussion. You cannot continue what you had previously if Google feels uncomfortable on that. So certain things that happen there, certain things about, rule of law stuff too. If you bring that up too much, Google will suddenly just give you links. Maybe it gets Justia more traffic, right? So maybe I should complain. These other ones, though, might have different purposes for it. Some people use it for coding. Some people use it a lot less expensive. Asia's used a lot of DeepSeek. It's also, you can't, ask a lot of questions about Tiananmen Square in DeepSeek, but man, it's very cost effective and it's helping drive down cost. So there's other things going on there. Grok has some controversies right now, but what's new with that? And a lot of the stuff, whether it's Copilot or the Gemini stuff, it's all, for Microsoft's Copilot, it's all getting integrated into your apps. It is becoming like spell check. And pretty soon how you research, how you do things will just depend where you are. The AI will just be in everything. So you might as well learn how to use it. I think I've always thought Gemini and Google would win at the end, but they got a couple things they need to work through still. They just have to figure out how they can keep making money, or maybe AI is enough of an opportunity. They switch over to it. And we're talking about search like back in the 2020s, right? Now search is something, but it's not a big deal because everything's AI, and that could easily happen too. So there are a lot of different things going on there. Again, for me, these are the main ones to focus on right now. So I don't think you need to really think about Grok or Claude, or if you do well for these, you do well for those. Just make sure your content's indexable if you care about them. If you want to be in those other ones, don't shut them off on Cloudflare. And if you think you're going to make money off Cloudflare by shutting off a law firm website, you're not going to make any money. So you just have to decide whether you want to be in there or not. The amount of money you make is trivial. if you get one client in 100 years, it'd probably make up for the revenue that you'd get from that. So no, we're different, but for you guys, that for some law firms, I think that's certainly the case. All right. And again, this is the key. They need to get, they can do the AI, but they got to make sure they're still making money. Google needs to figure that out. And the ads within the AI, like AI mode results, not good. More of this, less of this, I guess is the way to put it. All right. That's fine. 7:50, I guess I am probably going to go over. I thought I was going to do faster this time, but we'll see. All right, this is pretty quick because most of this I'll be pointing off the other stuff. What should lawyers do given these changes with Google, in particular for SEO and to a lesser extent OpenAI? And well, I guess at least for AI answers, you want to be an OpenAI too, right? And for Google, you get both the Google AI benefit plus it'll help you with Google search, which right now is still big, right? And even with AI, like some sites, like for us and for us, Cornell and some others, our traffic went up in the last year with AI. So it's in a way you go, yeah, it's bad. We can't get the traffic. On the other hand, less people are trying to compete with you. So that's kind of good. It's very hard to do things and justify it if you're not getting the traffic. And then suddenly you guys show up at the top or your stuff starts getting mentioned and all of a sudden you're getting clients because then they really need to hire a lawyer. They do look at you're getting the important clicks, not maybe you're losing a little bit of the informational clicks. There are other issues in terms of rankings and click-through rates when it's going to AI first. I'm not going to go through all that right now. I covered that in that other webinar. But for you guys, the AI can be good because the other people aren't doing it and they might just give up, which seems to happen a lot. All right. I'll say the same thing. Go watch these webinars. All right. You watch them on Justia Connect. Go watch them on YouTube, especially this one, because it's a little bit more recent, but this is really good on the profile part too. The stuff that Conrad and I were talking about. So I watched the first one first, and if you want more updates on, even though it's a little bit earlier thing, but the information still is really, really good. You should watch both those two. That will help you with AI the most. And that's 2 hour, they think this is long. That's a 2-hour webinar. So it's going to take a while. But you can go forward through parts of it if you want. It takes a little bit to get going, but if you get about 5 minutes, it sort of picks up. All right, this is just a short answer sheet of what you need to do. All right, and what's going on. AI is going to overtake search. At least search and AI from a Google standpoint will become congruent, and you just need to get ready for it. All right, you need to know what AI says about it. So you should go look up yourself and your law firm and sort of see how OpenAI or Google Gemini looks at you, examines you. Right? You should just go ahead and do that. You should know what's being said about you. Right? I've seen some lawyers where something was going on, they were sanctioned or something, and that's what shows up. You need to figure out what is there things you can do to control that information? What can you do to sort of control things if you can? Or at least you have certain ways you can get more data in there, which I'm about to talk about in a second. But you need to. But before you even do any of that, you need to know what OpenAI, what ChatGPT, and Google Gemini say about you. Right? You can look at Google Gemini and all the different modes, and you can look at AI mode or Gemini directly, and ChatGPT. You can look, depending on what models, you can look at different models on it. You need to know what data that AI is using. Normally, they will show you the sources. Now, there are more sources that you can get in there if you feel like if you don't have a Justia profile, well, then that's an opportunity to get a source that would actually show up and be used certainly by Google and OpenAI and Anthropic and Meta and all these other guys. I mean, they all use all our data. And so that would be an opportunity for you to get that in there where you could present yourself the way you want to, right? If you don't have it. Or the same thing would be true with, other directories in certain ways. Your website, you should make sure your website says good things about you, right? But you first need to know what's it looking at, and then where do you think you could get more resources. You can also look up other lawyers if you want to get an idea of what's mentioning them, and you could go to those places to get more information about them and about yourself based on what your competitors or your friends have showing up as citations within AI. All right. You need to update the information on your profiles. That's on your website, directories, every place. You got to get the information. You got to need to present it the way you want to present it. And this is not the time to be bashful or meek. You should tell folks why you're great. All right. You should do that. That's will help you. And you have to get that information updated. You should try to get awards and ratings. All right. So you should try. I just told you, Justia, you want to get the Justia thing, get a lawyer to review you. With Avo, get lawyers to, and that's not as big as review, but to say you're good, right? To sort of give you a thumbs up there. But it's based on their lawyers to a large extent, tell your profile. Something like super lawyers, where it's like the group that have it vote on you. You got to realize if you're up in Reading, the people in Los Angeles who are voting on you, they might not know who you are, but they might be using AI to do it. So try to make yourself look good in AI. So if you are applying for super lawyers or best lawyers, some of these other ones, when they're trying to figure out who you are, you got a pretty good idea. A lot of these guys are using AI to figure out whether you're good or not, beyond just filling out the form and public service and some of your winnings, stuff like that. But you should try to get more awards, and you should mention those awards, and you should mention those awards in all your profiles. If you have an Avo 10 or you're excellent in Avo, you should mention that on your Justia profile, not just list it as an award on the Justia profile, but mention it within the text of your profile, right? Mention it. So there's ways to it. I covered all this in that other webinar. I'm not going to go through all the details here, but this is what you need to be doing. If you do this, you're going to show up well, not just for yourself, but you're going to start competing for service searches in AI, which is really what you want to be at. Again, you need to feature these awards and ratings on all their profiles, all of them. Justia and Avo, Avo and Justia, super, everything needs to be, you need to mention all of them everywhere. Google Gemini in particular cares about the Google business profile. So try to make that one really good, which means you got to make your narrative really good. Not just keyword spam, but try to also make it why you're great. That's going to help you with Google. With Google AI, it's actually going to help you also with the Google Maps, which is also looking more at AI stuff these days. Beyond just getting reviews and things like that, you need to sort of do that part. You can add products. There's sort of services, but products will show up there. You can answer questions. There's a lot of things you could do to increase your presence on your Google business profile. But one thing is you got to make sure that when you're talking about yourself, that you're talking about like yourself because you're great. Mention what you did, outcomes, cases, verdicts and settlements, things like that, and other awards and things like that. All right, these profiles and the data on these profiles, those are like your links in the old days. Remember in the back in the 2010s, everybody wanted to get links. Well, it's the same thing now with data. And the thing is, these lawyer directories and these law firm directories and these yellow page directories are seen by Google as solid places of third-party data when realistically you control a lot of that data. So at least get what you want to have said about you on all these directories, realizing that maybe nobody really does the city search, right? They don't use that directory, but that directory data might get picked up into Google and OpenAI, and now it sort of lifts you up in the AI results. Or if you get lifted up in the AI results on Gemini, maybe that lifts you up in the organic results because now you're getting more clicks through AI, which then transfers to a higher rating on just basic search. So there's a lot of little, or even just mentions on AI might lift you up in search. So there's lots of reasons why you want to update these directories outside of just direct contact from those directories, because it will help you with the sort of the new place where people are going to look for lawyers. So again, the content is your link and it's free. So you should just do it, right? And for other stuff, use the question and answer format. I'm going to show you a couple examples in a second, but that look at the other webinar if you want more detail on it. And there's different markup you can use, things like that. FAQ markup. All right, that's the list. That's the list I gave at the beginning. That's really your marching step. All right, and then go watch this webinar here. All right, I'm going to cover just a few more things. On our lawyer directory, we've added some things in here. So here's my profile. If I go into the edit screen on my profile, this is free, right? You don't need to pay us money for this. Anyone can do this. You go through here, we've added FAQs for AI. And what we've done is we've gone through all the practice areas, or a lot of the practice areas, like I say, all of them. And we found the types of questions that the AI bots and the AI sort of aggregators, the LLMs want you to answer to help you rank better and help present yourself better in Google, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, all these other ones, right? So it's basically, here tends to be the questions that you want to answer to help you rank better in AI. And we just put them together. You need to answer them, but we gave you the questions. So you go through there, like here's my communications and internet one. And I go through, if you click into it, you'll get to a page like this. This gives you the practice areas that you say you practice, right? We're not doing the ones you don't practice, but the ones you say you practice. And here's a list of questions, not a huge number, that you can answer. You go in here, you choose a question, you answer it, you choose a question, you answer it. You could take these same questions and I'd answer them slightly different on your website, but you can put them on your website if you want to, other profiles. These are good questions that you're free to answer, right? Because we thought it through. So a lot of part is, what should I answer? Well, here you go. Here's what you need to answer. These are not hard questions to answer. And they're all about you in particular. So these are things to help you outside of Justia, right? Justia on your profile. But for you, the big value is this is going to get picked up by all these different AI search bots and sort of chat bots that would sort of come up. All right. Here they are, close. How do you prepare for a case? How do you take case? Basic stuff. But this is these are the types of questions people have that they want answered, and the AI sort of wants to present to people. All right, here's an example of someone who did a good job. Bear me, I'm not looking for clients, but this guy's looking for clients. And so Anderson did that, and here's some of his FAQs here. Extend it out. It's got more. He can answer more if he wants to add. He's got PI and workers' comp. If you want to start doing nursing home or asbestos, there's more questions that could show up that he could answer. But all this will help him in AI. Again, this is free. You don't have to be a client of ours. Anyone could do this, right? This is free. You can answer questions on things like Ask a Lawyer, right? So Ask a Lawyer is a place you go, and those questions and answers do get picked up by some of the AI search engines. Just make sure your answer is good, right? And ideally, make sure your answer is not pure AI, right? I know there's a little bit of issue there with some of that stuff, but try to write something that you write, that'll get attached to you as the author, and that can give you extra credit within the AI search engines. If you go through like our website, our websites that we make, Elevate, which has a lot of AI stuff into it. But we also have different questions. These are for the firm. But here's an example. Here's Anderson again. And I'll just sort of start playing this. But you can see he answered all these questions here. Right? Each one he just answered. This one's about the lawyer. And some stuff about fees and communication. We have a lot of stuff in here. Again, this is just set up. You have to answer the questions if you're on it, right? But this is set up for anyone that has Justia Elevate, right? Which is, again, we have a lot of AI stuff driven into it. Our belief is that you should pay less when we use AI, right? Which is why, it's under $1,000 a year right now, and $250 a month you pay yearly. And it's just like, I don't know how people charge these crazy amounts because they're using AI, but he's taking advantage of it. And this is like, even if you're not our client, you should be doing things like this, right? If you're a PI guy, just go look at his site, maybe slightly reword the questions, hopefully, but and answer on your site, right? If you're new PI. All right. Again, go see that webinar. So pretty much, it's pretty much summarizes it up. It's the same thing. These are the ones to focus on right now. Here's AI mode. My belief is Google will end up like this soon enough. And just, hey, you've been warned. So I know they said, hey, we're not going to make it AI mode because first we said we are. That's timing. They said it too quickly, but this is where things will end up. And with that, I can take questions. But seriously, go look at this webinar and watch this webinar, or watch it on Justia Connector, watch it on YouTube. I give examples. I show you how Gare's doing for New York. They're up. Type in the, New York criminal lawyer into any AI stuff, or who's the best New York criminal lawyer, or no, I'm sorry, best New York personal injury lawyer. Type that stuff in. Type in who's the best criminal lawyer in Los Angeles, right? These guys are all showing up, and they're all doing the same thing. They work their awards in. They mention it everywhere. And anyways, watch that webinar. I walk through those examples. There's nothing that stops other law firms from doing similar things. And then you guys can all compete. But right now it's wide open. And I would say I've mentioned this like 2 or 3 times now, plus the different practice area ones. I would guess maybe a handful of people have actually done it. A handful, maybe less than 100 for sure. So the opportunity is yours if you want it. If you don't, or it's too hard, and if you think you're going to just use AI to write stuff, you're nuts. You need to go back through and check it. Even if you bounce between models the way we do for checking and things, that's not enough. You still need to go through it, and then you really, 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 really says that, need to add in your personal experience if you want to shot with Google. Otherwise, AI for AI, they'll get flagged quick. It's not hard. So, anyways, with that, I hand it over for the questions. Sorry, I went a little bit long. I thought it was going to be, I really tried to get this down to under an hour, but that's close. Closer than last time. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tim. If you've got questions, you can submit them by clicking the Q&A button. We've already got a few, so we can go ahead and get started. This first one is from Teresa. She mentions, I see a lot of law firm content that says, quote unquote, we have handled, and uses multiple or plural language when there's only one attorney at the firm. What do you think about that for writing style? Do you think there's any benefit to it?
Well, I mean, we would be we the firm. So it might be, it's you, it's your administrative staff and things like that. I won't get into nuances of I or we, right? I don't think that's a big deal. The more important thing with it is that they're using something that's personal to them, whether it's we the firm or I the lawyer, whatever it is, that's helpful. And not just, and once you can say that and you mix it into your content sets, don't just have it over here. Like here's my profile. I mentioned what I do. Try to mix it into your car accident page or your estate planning page. Mention the types of things that you've done or how you approach things, right? So it's really the personalization of it, of your experience is more important than the actual plural versus singular. Whether people are allowed to say we or I or things like that, maybe there's some ethical rules for some states. I don't think there's anything in California that says anything like that. So I wouldn't be too worried about it.
And our next question comes from John. He asks, the number of keywords for which my website ranks in the top 5 increased dramatically in 2025, but clicks on my website and calls to my office did not. Do you think this is because AI summaries eliminated the need to click through? Any suggestions on what to do about it?
All right. So there's traffic, and then there's contacts. So contacts is what matters to you the most part. So there's no doubt that AI, for most law firms, we're kind of an exception, but we got, we're like everywhere, we're everywhere. Cornell's everywhere. That's a little bit different. And for us, it's just these other competitors sort of step back or they're trying to use AI to compete and stuff like that. And we're still pushing away. But for you all, small law firms, you have to realize that it's not just people coming to your website to contact you. You need to actually show up in the AI chatbots to get contacted. So you need to sort of show up there. It's also fill out your directory on Justia and Avo and things like that. I mean, that's just, those are basic no-brainers on that. You can get full profiles from most of the places for free. Maybe Avo wants money for phone numbers now, which I don't know. But for us, you can certainly get things for free, and there's a bunch of others you do it. But for your website, then you need to figure out how to take your website and promote yourself within your website, or promote yourself within Justia or Avo Text or FindLaw or Super Lawyers, wherever else you are, and really start presenting yourself as a great lawyer and just start bragging. Google Business Profile did the same thing. Because the main thing is you get contacts, and your website will be probably for AI, the most important thing about you is your website, more important than Justia. Maybe the Google Business Profile is close, but for most of them, like OpenAI, I know their website's the most important thing. You really need to get in there and brag a bit more, get awards, start bragging a bit, start working a little bit to your homepage, work it onto the About the Firm page. On everybody's profile pages should have it. Mention and start going over and over again. Try to mix your name in about every other paragraph, just so I know in the future Google says you don't have to do all this right now. We'll figure it out. Yeah, they'll figure it out maybe in 5 years. We'll see. But right now, try to work your name in like every 2 paragraphs or something, so it can sort of stays attached to you. If you're mentioning your words, don't assume that's going to pick it up from the page title tag or the H1 tag, that mentions your name. So you got to work that stuff in. Again, go watch that webinar that I was talking about, right? Go watch that. I walked through exactly what you should do with your website. I walked through what you should do with your profiles. The good news for most of that stuff, it should all be free. that you need to do. And the text matters, like for AI, the text matters more to you than other stuff. So if you can work the text into your profiles, and I slightly rewrite it a bunch of times so it doesn't look like just the same dupe everywhere. But if you can slightly rewrite it each time, you'll do better in AI. But it's very it can be very gamified right now. I'll put it that way. I don't want to say manipulated, but it's very gamified right now, and not that many people are doing it. And so if you could do that, that would help you, and then you get contacts going. As far as your website goes, I think rankings in AI are always going to be somewhat of an issue. I think it's hard for practice areas or certain things like that to show up, because people, if they're just looking for a lawyer, they might click on the ads. They tend to go to directories because they're looking to compare lawyers. That's the one place they start. I mean, I've had folks that were all at the top of the page, and us were at the top, and I knew exactly what our traffic was relative to others. I could see these were, if they got through these top sort of places, they're going to directories. They didn't tend to go to the organic as much. And that kind of makes sense. But so it's a little bit hard there, a little bit, but there's long tail stuff that you might be able to pick up in certain ways. And a lot of that stuff you should be able, even on the AI, you can pick up if you get cited in certain ways, as long as you're presenting yourself as the expert. But I'd really go through your content, really try to make your content better and better and better, because now you're competing in AI, and that's what's going to help you get clients. Even if your answer is read somewhere else, it'll add up. And the competition won't be as much as you think, because so many people are just giving up. I mean, most people are giving up right now. So it should be easier and easier for you.
Our next question comes from Randall. He says, thanks, Tim. What about old blog posts? I have 2 Justia blogs that are at least 15 years old with a few thousand posts. Will that much content be helpful for AI searches, or should I go back and rewrite some of the old posts? What do you think?
So if the blogs are old right now, for older blogs, the main sort of core thing there is they're seen as these independent editorial entities, and they're really helping you with the cross links into your site. So you can deep link into internal pages, and it's really to a certain extent, to a large extent, a cross link part. Cross link into your site to lift your site up. For the posts themselves, the older ones will get discounted out. What you could do, if the laws have changed or something, is you could go through and you could because the blogs that we have don't have the time date into the URL. It's the post name of the URL. So you can always update it. You could take it, I'll say update it on, and go through and check it for the legality stuff, and either put a summary of it or go correct it or update it on this date, which you can do for certain things, which will help, which then you can get ranked higher, at least when discussing areas of law. If you're discussing a case, and the case is the case, unless you're going to give an update as what's happened recently in appeals or things like that, in which case you could put a more recent date of when you updated it. So you could do things like that. It might be better just to focus on new posts and update new posts on the law, and just realize that some of these ones were there. They're never going to get the traffic that they had in the past. They might not even be used by AI because they're too old. I mean, that's certainly the case with law, that Google tends to discount stuff out that's older because they don't want to start putting in wrong information. I don't think OpenAI has quite as much of a worry about that, but I know Google does, so I'll leave it there. So you might want to write new blog posts for it, but I wouldn't necessarily delete them, because I don't think it's going to hurt you with AI. It just might not get picked up by it. And I do think it gives you, especially for older blogs, gives you a certain presence, in different places that you've been linked up in the past or mentioned, and that Google's just seen it for a long time. And my overall belief, by the way, is I still believe right now that Google will, and I mentioned this the first time when we did one on AI and ChatGPT with Marina years ago. I still think Google will win this part. I think they've gone way too slow, and they've given OpenAI an opening, but I still think they're going to be the end game winners. But man, I'm really surprised they allowed this to escape them. As much as they've done, I'm surprised they let people talk at conferences ever again in terms of stuff. But I think I do think they'll end up winning. And if Google wins, then the SEO value of this and the fact that it was an existing site for a long period of time is actually quite helpful to you, even if the content's not being pulled into AI. So either update it, republish date with update date, or write brand new blog post on it. But I wouldn't worry about some of the older ones not necessarily getting traffic. You still get that core, that time's gone, but you still have that core value of the domain strength for it.
Thanks, Tim. And then our last question for today comes from Joel. They ask, what is the sweet spot for how often we should add new content to a law firm website to boost ranking?
Well, I don't know if there's how often you do it, but it better be correct. So the bigger thing here isn't how often you add content. It's one, is your content correct? So if your content's wrong, again, I'll give you the example. You're talking about tax policy and the tax laws have changed and you haven't updated your tax pages. All right. That's a problem. You need to update those immediately, right? You don't want to start getting flagged for having outdated information. Is your content good? I mean, is it long? If you make it longer, it's a little bit better. Sorry, put some headings and stuff onto it. Do you work your personal experience into the content? I would rather take my current content, really update it, make it really, really good, add my personal experience in there and let that content rank well and keep that content updated and the best content than just try to add pages to add pages. I don't think Google cares. You'll get value by adding pages because they're new pages. But I think Google really, when they look at your site, they look at the overall quality of your site. And once you get about, 20, 30 pages, you're in that group between 30 pages and 300 pages. It's like a group to them. And, the bigger thing there is the quality of what you have. Now, if you want to rank for more stuff, you need more pages, right? They're focused. But you better make sure your stuff's really good. And you've got to get that personal experience in. I cannot understate that, how important that is right now. And as important it is today in January, it's going to be more important a year from now. It's going to be much more important. So, Google's still figuring this stuff out right now. They're not fully punishing out all the AI stuff, especially the small AI players. They're mainly focused on these huge AI data farms. But they will, and you better be prepared for it and make sure that you've worked in your personalized a bit. Again, you can use AI, but it better look like the expert was sitting in the middle of this stuff, not the, it's a generic AI thing about, top 10 things to do in a car accident, and that type of stuff. So I wouldn't worry about that as much. I would write pages for stuff I want to rank in, right? That's what I would do. If I want to rank into it, I put a page up. And I do that right after I got everything that I have made the absolute best it can be. And I went and watched that video that I put up, that 2-hour video that's there, and maybe the Comrade Sam video, and I'd update all my profiles everywhere. I do that well before I sat down and wrote more content for a website. I go update all my profiles to make sure they're good. And you got to set that up. Again, that's easier to do right now. That might be harder in a year. A year from now, who knows what they'll do, right? Someone like Avo was taking their stuff out of some of the stuff, but they still had the old data from Avo. It's like they threw away data, but they weren't able to update it, and maybe, like I said, maybe they're working out a deal or something with these guys. But try to get that stuff updated immediately, both for lawyer directories, law firm directories, and then the business directories. And again, you can use someone like Whitespark or somebody who helps you get logins, and you can write unique profiles for each one. Again, watch that video. I went through all those details of it. Look how Gare does, right? You want to be like Gare, do that, right? They killing it, and that's on them, man. They just. I didn't come up with the idea of putting award-winning in all caps. They figured that out themselves. So, but they've done fantastic, and a lot of people have done fantastic who've done that. It's very systematic. It's not a guess game. So do that first, then fix all your content, and then you can get around to writing content and just write content for what you want it to do well in, and keep things updated. Other than that, just start getting more awards. Look for awards you can get. Do some public service. The AI likes public service too. Things like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tim, for answering our audience questions. And thank you to all of our audience members who sent in questions. We're always so appreciative of your participation. We want to thank you for joining us today for another Justia webinar. As I mentioned at the top of our presentation, I wanted to remind you all of the services available to you through our website platform, Justia Elevate. It's our innovative, feature-packed website solutions designed specifically for law firms. It's built on a powerful WordPress platform and offers tools like the Justia AI Writer to help you write seamless content for your website, the AI-powered Justia Chat to help you enhance your leads, and FAQs for AI to help better your chances, of showing up in the AI results. You'll have everything that you need to stand out out online, and plans start at just $82.50 a month when paid annually. So to check the pricing for your firm, you can go to elevate.justia.com/price. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you all so much for joining. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next video.